In this video, we're going to look at using repeating forms in REDCap.
To use repeating forms, you first need to enable it. It's the new first item under Enable Optional Modules and Customizations. When you click on the Enable button, you'll be able to choose which instruments in the project you want to be able to repeat. This will work something like a longitudinal project, where you'll be able to use the same form multiple times. Each repeating form will get a specific label like a longitudinal project so that you can refer specifically to that form. If you want to, you can also create a custom label for repeating events. Here, you can pipe in information from that event. For example, now when I enter information in the fields here, it'll show up as the label for the event. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this repeating instrument works. To do this, I'll add a new record. Now, demographics isn't a repeating instrument, so I just enter the information here and once. Then I'm going to save and go to the next form. Now I can start adding in medications. And I have a new option in my Save menu, Save and Add New Instance. This just brings up a second copy of the form, and you can see that it says I'm still in Record 2, and I'm still in the medicines form, but now I'm on Instance 2 of 2. I can enter new medication here. And if I want to, then I can save and add another instance. And here you can see I'm on 3 of 3. Now if I save and exit, on the record home page, I can see that I have multiple instances of medicines. I can click to add a new one, or I can go back to the record home page, and I can see the different medicines that I've entered in. The dot with multiple circles next to it will show as green if all the statuses are complete, yellow if all the statuses are unverified, and red if all the statuses are incomplete. If it's mixed, it'll show as blue. You can also use these repeating instances in surveys. So if I enable surveys in the project, and then make this a survey, I can scroll down to the bottom, and I have this option here to allow respondents to repeat the survey. This will let them add multiple instances. You can choose what the text you want to say on the button is, and where you want the button to show up, before or after the survey is completed. Here, you can see the survey is set to allow repeating instances. So now let's go back into that record. And open this as a survey. They can fill in the name, put in all the appropriate information, and then here at the bottom, they can click to submit and then add another person. And they can continue to do this as many times as they need to. You might be wondering how this will look when you go to do your export in your reports. With your export, it's going to look a lot like a regular longitudinal project. So you can see here where I have multiple instances. Each instance is getting its own line, the same as an event would on a longitudinal project. The difference is on a longitudinal project, you'd have to have all this set up in advance, and you'd have to have the same amount available for every record in the project. With the repeating forms, you can repeat as many times as you happen to need just for that one person. Your reports are going to look very similar to this. So let's create a new report and add a couple of instruments to it. So now we have an example of a non-repeating and a repeating form in this report. So go ahead and save. And here you can see again it looks a lot like a regular longitudinal project. Each repeat instance of each repeat form gets its own line, and then you have a line for the non-repeating instances as well.
You can also use repeating forms in longitudinal projects. To do this, we're going to enable our project as longitudinal. And you can see that I've created an event, visits, which collects visit information and contact information. Next, I'm going to go to modify my repeatable instruments and events. Here you can see I have a new section, repeat entire event or selected instruments. In the basic REDCap project, we just repeated selected instruments, the medicines form and the family history form. However, in a longitudinal project, we also have the option to repeat the entire event together. So for example, in our visits form, each person may have a completely different number of visits, but we want them to fill out the same 2 items each time they come in. So we can make the event visits repeating, where we repeat the entire event, all the instruments together each time. This means that every time they come in for a new visit, we'll click Add New Visit and fill out all the forms for that visit, and all those forms for that visit will be linked together. Let's see what that looks like for data entry. We'll go ahead and add a new record, and we'll start with the visit information. So we go ahead and give the visit a date. Now down here we don't have a save and add new instance because this entire visit repeats together. Instead, we go to save and go to next form. And then we can put in this contact information that we're going to want to check at each visit. So now if we look at the record homepage, we can see our visit information, but we also have the option to add new to visits. So perhaps they came in again the next day. We click Add New, and it gives us a new set of the visits information. And we can go in and we can do that at every visit they have. This is a very useful way of handling things when you need the longitudinal type functionality of using the same forms multiple times, but at the same time you don't have a set number of events for an item. If every time someone comes in for a visit, they fill out the same 2 forms, but they may have 1 visit or they may have 20, this can be a more efficient way of setting up your project. You can also use smart variables in repeating forms. You can find the information for both smart variables and action tags in the Design Your Data Collection Instruments to Enable Your Surveys box. You will also see links to them when you go in to edit an individual field. There is an entire set of smart variables that just apply to repeating instruments and events. Previous instance will give you either the instance number of the previous instance or allow you to pipe information from the previous instance. Current instance will do the same for the current instance you're on. Next instance for the next instance. And then first instance and last instance will pull from those instances respectively. If you just have the smart variable, it will just pull the instance number. So this means it will tell you what number of the instance you're on, 1, 2, 3, etc. If you append the smart variable after the variable name, for example, wait previous instance, it will pipe in the information that exists in that field in the previous, current, next, etc. This is really useful when information isn't likely to change a great deal between the repeating instances. For example, in the visits form we just looked at, it is highly unlikely that the contact information is going to change, but we want to verify it each time. However, it would be nice to just pull the information from the previous instance and have it auto-populate so that we can verify it with the participant and change it if necessary. To do that, we're going to use a previous instance smart variable and the action tag at default. Action tags are entered in the action tag/field annotation box. To learn more about action tags, check out our action tag video. Here, we're going to use the action tag at default and set it equal to, open quotation, phone, previous instance, close quotation. We're going to do the same thing with email, only change phone to email. Now, if we go back to our record status dashboard and pull up our last record, we can add a new event. And if we click on the contact information, we can see that our phone and email fields have been pre-populated for us. I can change these if I want to, but the information has already been provided for us. Repeating forms and instances are a very useful feature in your project. They can provide a great deal of flexibility and even help you mimic a relational database within a flat REDCap database. If you have any questions with it or are uncertain about the best way to set up your project, click the Contact REDCap Administrator to contact an administrator for help with your project. Thank you.